What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F122 My Team Career Mode. Last time we were at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and after an abysmal qualifying, I managed to carve my way through the field, but only as far as P14, and we got stuck in a DRS train and finished outside of the points. I'm hoping we will avoid a repeat of that fate here in the Canadian Grand Prix, which is another track that I have yet to win at in my 6 years of driving here. I don't think this one's been off the calendar in any year of this career mode either, so yeah, you can't say I haven't can't say I haven't had ample opportunity to try and win it, but yeah, we've yet to do so again. I think our best result here was a second place, so yeah, I'm hoping to maybe pick up a win here to round off my my 7-year career in Formula One under the Jaguar name. But yeah, we have a lot to do before that. Obviously, it looks like it is going to be a wet race, at least for a little bit of the race. So that's something that we've got to be prepared for as well. I don't know if I'm going to experiment with a wet setup again. It didn't really work out for me last time, but you know, who knows? Maybe it could be better this time. But somehow I'm not overly optimistic about that that situation. So I think I'll probably just punt for the dry setup, and if it goes wet, then I'll just try and cope in the dry setup that we find ourselves with. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a track I typically do too well at, Montreal. I've had a few pretty poor results here historically. I think a DNF once or twice, and then a handful of okay-ish results, but generally not spectacular around here. And my pace was all right in practice, but it was not particularly remarkable. The rain started coming down pretty early in the session, so a lot of people hadn't set representative times yet, and that's why you saw such a mixed up grid there. However, my tyre wear was quite a lot better than expected, and if it was going to be a dry race, that actually would be interesting, because it would mean that we might be able to do quite an aggressive strategy. We might be able to do soft medium, but as things stand, I think there's pretty much no point in doing a soft medium strategy if we're just going to be boxing onto the intermediate tyres within the first sort of 16, 17 laps of the race. As long as the rain doesn't come late into the race, then there's pretty much no reason to do anything other than a medium hard. Try and stay out as long as you can on the same set of tyres. But yeah, it all comes down to when the rain is going to come in that race. But yeah, I currently trailing Alex Albon in the driver's standings by, I can't remember how many it is. It's about 27 points, I think, something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, he's had the measure of me so far this season. He's had 3 wins and a number of decent points finishes as well. I've only had 2 wins myself, and not as many strong points finishes compared to Alex Albon this season. So yeah, we're playing catch up at the moment, and this is probably the last of a bunch of races that I don't typically go so well at. And then we're moving into a part of the season which I'm a bit more comfortable with. We got Britain, we got Austria, we got France, all of those races. Hungary's not so good for me, but then immediately afterwards we got Belgium and Zandvoort, 2 races which I win at quite frequently as well. So if I can get good results at 5 of those 6 races, then we could be looking really good after that, and maybe we'll be in command of the championship once again. But it is yet to be seen what is going to happen, and whether we can do that or not. But we did make it through just about into Q2, only in P15, however. I wasn't really drawing much attention to that, but yeah, P15 in the end, so we were not too far from being eliminated in Q1. Doesn't look like there were many shock exits here from what I can tell. Obviously, you know that I made it through as well, but yeah, we've made it through to Q2, and now we have to try and make it through to Q3. And if we're on any level of pace that's similar to what we were in Q1, then it might be more difficult than I thought to get through to Q3. I was hoping to get a win here, but it's looking like we might not even get into the top 10 in qualifying, which would be pretty poor. We do a 1:10.2 to start things off. That was nowhere near the pace of the previous front runners in Q1. They were on like sort of low, or it was like mid to high 108s, I should say. So yeah, I'm not sure. But we improve a little bit by about 5/10 looking at it from that initial time. It's going to be a 109.6 as we cross the line. Is it good enough to get us through to Q3? Yes, just about. We have scraped through once again into Q3 in P9, and hopefully I can get a better result in Q3 than I got here. But the big shock by far is the exit of Alex Albon. He is out in Q2 which means he will be starting from 11th on the grid tomorrow, barring any grid penalties for anyone else up and down the field. This is a great opportunity for me to try and close him down quite significantly in the World Championship if I can manage it. Obviously, we have to try and get a good result here. We go on a used set of tyres initially here in Q3, and I think it's going to be another 110 maybe, or maybe a 109, not sure. 109.6 actually, so yeah, this was a pretty good lap time. That's what we got on our fresh tyre run in the previous session. So yeah, suddenly things not looking so bad, and maybe, just maybe, we could be slightly competitive. Currently sitting P7, but we're up by quite a lot. It's 6 tenths at this point. It's going to be close to 7 tenths by the time we come up to the line. Is it going to be in the 108s? Yes, it was a 108.9, and where does that put us? P3. I will take that. Given how poor we looked for that entire qualifying session, I will take P3 every day.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. Sainz, Leclerc, and Robinson. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Only both of the Ferraris beating us on this occasion, and only by a couple tenths as well, so there's a chance we could be competitive with them tomorrow. Meanwhile, probably the biggest surprise based on his recent form that got through is Lance Stroll in his home race. He managed a P7, so that's pretty good for him, and maybe he'll be able to convert that into a solid points finish. I think the chances of him winning the championship have sort of begun to dwindle a little bit as he had a run of pretty poor form after that Australian Grand Prix where he finished on the podium. You know, he was struggling to get into the points following that. So yeah, I think it's not been good for Stroll, but maybe if he can turn things around, pick up a few wins, maybe he could get himself back in the fight. Who knows? But yeah, we will be starting from 3rd on the grid, 2nd row, and see if we can perhaps do something really special and win for the first time ever in Canada. But before we do that, we have to actually do the rest of the race. So let's get ready to get into the Canadian Grand Prix.
It's time once again then to go racing here in Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world, and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula One calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Robinson, Ricciardo, George Russell, and Verstappen. Stroll, Tsunoda, Ocon, and Pierre Gasly. Albon, Fittipaldi, Kevin Magnussen, and Norris. Oscar Piastri, Drugovich, Guan Yu Zhou, and Théo Pourchaire. Latifi, Lundgaard, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And a warm welcome to Natalie Pinkham, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Should we kick off our conversation with George Russell? That was a great win in the last race, but can they keep that momentum going into this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Mark got nothing to say on this occasion, I guess, so we'll just get straight into it. As I said, we're going to be running the medium compound tyres, and I think the majority of the people around us will be too, unless they're gambling on the rain coming early and they want to try and make up as many positions as they can early by being aggressive on the soft compound tyres. It seems like the medium tyres are going to be the weapon of choice here, so we're going to see if we can do anything from 3rd on the grid and maybe challenge these guys up front. But this is a track that I do struggle at in race trim typically. I don't always find it the easiest to race with the cars around me, and quite often I find myself outclassed and outpaced But maybe, just maybe, we can have some kind of miracle here. Maybe we can jump Leclerc off the start and then be pressuring Sainz. But yeah, we have to get ready now to try and get a good start as the lights come on. And the lights go out. And we've had a pretty good getaway here. It's not been the most amazing getaway I've ever had in my life. But I think we're going to at least hold on to this P3. And maybe with Leclerc and Sainz battling, we can do something here. But no, Sainz holds up Leclerc. I have to try my damnedest not to go into the back of him there. And I just about avoid doing it. But now I'm coming under pressure from George Russell up the inside. And we have to go out very wide there. And that has caused us to lose a bit of time to the cars in front. And this is one of the things I really hate about the AI in this game, especially on this track and on other tracks like Azerbaijan and Imola. They are so aggressive into every corner that you end up just losing so much time to the cars in front so quickly because you get held up because you have to race wheel to wheel with these cars because they have no concept of restraint, no concept of be patient and attack where it makes sense. You know what I mean? So George Russell has already held me up significantly to the cars in front. Sainz is 2 seconds up the road. And yeah, we are already looking like we're probably out of contention to win this race unless we can really find some pace quickly. But someone who does have the pace is George Russell. It was trivial. Look at that. That was completely trivial. He was an absolute rocket ship compared to me. And yeah, we find ourselves now down in P4 off the podium. And yeah, I would say this is probably our chance of winning the race over. Already, we're coming under pressure now from Max Verstappen. Once again, he's doing the exact same thing that Russell did on the previous lap and just causing me to lose time to the cars in front. So, yeah, not the best start of the Canadian Grand Prix that I could have possibly had. We move now on to lap 4, and we're now coming under pressure from Max Verstappen once again. I will see if I can hold him off, but with no DRS to Russell in front, it's going to be incredibly hard to try and hold him behind. And I mean, you know how fast these Red Bulls can be. It's going to be incredibly difficult to hold on to this P4 through this DRS zone. And you can see before we've even made it to the corner, he's already so far ahead. He absolutely breezes past. And yeah, it was absolutely no competition compared to Max Verstappen here. The Red Bull so fast in a straight line, especially with that DRS, especially with the ERS, that it made my car look like a GP2 car by comparison. So we move now onto lap 8, and you can see that Verstappen is already over 2 seconds up the road, and Ricciardo is now the car that is starting to pile a little bit of pressure on me. I'm going to be burning a bit more battery just to try and keep him behind. We're going to be wheel to wheel going into the chicane, and in the end it is going to be him who loses out for now. He's going to have to back out of the move a little bit, but we'll see if we come under a bit more pressure from him on this occasion. The AI with the superior traction is so hard to contend with, but we just about managed to stay ahead of him through the first couple of corners and push him out wide, and that actually allowed Albon through as well. But one thing that you can see on the TV camera is that there are drops of rain coming down now, and the rain has started to arrive. I think Tsunoda just boxed for medium tyres, so that is really unfortunate timing for him. Definitely putting him out of contention in this race, because the intermediate tyres are now the tyres of choice. The DRS has been disabled, and yeah, we're just going to try and get into the pits as quickly as we can. Albon will have to stay out for another lap. That's going to kind of jeopardise him a little bit, and in my selfish way, I can't help but think, good. That will allow us to close him down in the championship a little bit, because he's made his way from 11th to 6th. I've made my way from 3rd to 5th, and now we're next to each other on the track. This is like those races where I would pick up incredibly large grid penalties, and I would catch up with Enzo Fittipaldi within about 3 laps. But anyway, we do come into the pits, and we put on the intermediate tyres, and we're going to be going to the end of the Grand Prix on these intermediate tyres, barring any other weather changes. If the track dries out or if the track gets wetter, maybe we'll come back in for a set of softs or wets respectively, but for the time being it is going to be the intermediate compound tyres. We're now looking at Charles Leclerc, and you can see that is not just spray. There is smoke coming out the back of his car, and that is the end of his Grand Prix as we know it. So yeah, unfortunate for Charles Leclerc, but that does allow me to inherit a position, and we move up into P4 in this race once again. Actually, yeah, this is P4. There's Sainz out in front at the moment. And I was trying to see where Albon was after his pit stop. But then they informed me that there was some kind of problem going on. So that was a slight bit concerning. But eventually I was able to find out where Alex Albon was. They let me in on the information that he was in 7th. And then we got told that it was an engine issue, but that seems like it's not terminal. That's usually the kind of information they give you when it's not terminal. Obviously, Hungary last year would like a word with me if I'm proclaiming that it's definitely not terminal. But we should be okay to make it to the end of the race. Maybe down on power a little bit. Maybe we'll come under pressure from Ricciardo. Maybe he might even overtake us. But if we can finish in the points, preferably ahead of Albon, then that is of course preferable to DNFing from the race and not scoring any points. Lap 17 now. Ricciardo closing us down in the straight. Obviously there's no DRS on this occasion, which is making it harder for him to catch up to us. I don't know how we didn't get a corner cutting penalty there. I think we probably deserved one. But nonetheless, he moves to the outside, and by the time we make it to the braking zone, he is a whole car length in head. And I keep saying in head, I mean ahead. Must be some kind of Freudian slip or something, I don't know. Anyway, we're down into P5 at this point. And Ricciardo moves up into P4, and that is probably the last we will see of him in this Grand Prix. Speaking of the last we will see people in the Grand Prix, this is Yuki Tsunoda running in last because he was on that abysmal timing strategy. He was running P7, I think, before he boxed from the softs onto the mediums, and then he had to immediately box again onto the intermediate tyres. So very unfortunate for him, but his race is over. From last on the of the runners who are still in the race, he retired, and that was the end of his Grand Prix. Generally, his move gone pretty well to Alpine, though, I would say. I think he's doing a little bit better than when he was at AlphaTauri. Obviously, I know he had that podium with AlphaTauri, but I still think that he's been pretty impressive. But anyway, we're on lap 27 now. We're only a few laps away from the end. Nothing much really happened beyond this point, I was coming under a little bit of pressure from Lance Stroll here and there, but nothing I couldn't handle. He was just periodically maybe sort of kind of having a half-hearted look up the inside, but with no DRS, it was really hard for him to close me down. And likewise, it's really hard for Albon to get past Stroll. And now Magnussen is closing up to the back of Albon as well. There's a little bit of a train forming up, but I don't really mind, I don't think I'm going to come under too much pressure from these guys, and indeed you can see with only a couple laps left to go, things really aren't looking like they're going to be too problematic. I think we're probably just going to try and make it to the end, and take home 10 points. We'll outscore Albon by 4 points. It's not quite as many as I would want, and indeed Verstappen will be closing me down even further in the championship, outscoring me by 5 points here as well. But yeah, really, I think that Sainz is going to have been the man to beat today. You can see that Verstappen is over 20 seconds up the road from me. So God knows where Sainz and Russell are in comparison to Verstappen. It's, not been the race I really wanted. But, we have been nursing an engine issue this whole time as well. So, it's not the end of the world if we still pick up double digits worth of points. I can't be too dissatisfied with that. And, as we make it to the end of the final lap, the DRS gets re-enabled. I don't think that's really going to make too much of a difference to me. I'm not sure whether we went through the DRS detection point before or after it got re-enabled, whether Stroll will get the DRS or not. But even if he does, I've got plenty of battery in reserve. I can burn it all the way through this DRS zone. He is closing me quite a lot, so I think probably he did have the DRS. But nonetheless, we're going to keep him behind. And despite what was not a great race in terms of pure pace, I'm pretty happy with this result as we cross the line and take P5. Yeah, you can't be too disappointed with a P5, I feel like. I outperformed my closest championship rival at the end of the day, and I will hopefully start marking a comeback in this championship from this result.
Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So despite Leclerc's failure, Sainz did manage to come home in P first. Yes, P first. That is exactly what I was trying to say. Sainz takes P first. It's Lizard Man activated in P2, and Max Verstappen completes the podium and extends his advantage over me in this rivalry. So yeah, we're gonna have to start getting some good results coming in soon if we want to beat him. But it's not been the greatest run of form for me lately, so I need to turn this around pretty quickly.
And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Teo Pourchaire gets my vote today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Our constructors' lead is already beginning to look unassailable. No matter how bad a result the team has, you know, this was a 5th and 7th, I think we still extended our advantage because Leclerc had the DNF, Joe was nowhere, Norris was nowhere, and Gasly was nowhere as well. So we had 2 cars in decent points paying positions, whereas every other team only really had 1. So yeah, somehow we are still, you know, extending our advantage out front. And I can't be too disappointed with that. Meanwhile, the Drivers' Championship is starting to look a bit up in the air. You know, you still got Albon with a 23-point lead over the rest of the field. But then close behind me are Max Verstappen, who is having a very strong season so far this season. Probably his strongest season throughout this entire My Team career mode, honestly. You know, when I think about where he finished in the majority of the My Team career modes I've done, I don't think he's been any higher than 4th. Maybe he had 1/3 one year. But, yeah, generally he's not ever been higher than 4th. So, yeah, it's a pretty strong season for him. Russell is having his strongest season since my first season of My Team career mode, where he finished 3rd in the championship as well. And Sainz isn't having too bad of a season either. So, not quite who you would have expected to be in the championship hunt. But it is shaping up into an interesting battle. We've got 14 races left to decide who is going to be the Drivers' Championship, and it is the Drivers' Championship, the Drivers' Champion, and it is looking like it's going to be an interesting battle, and I'm curious to see who's going to win out. But nonetheless, we've got some good races coming up for us, so that could potentially see us get back into the Drivers' Championship fight. With Alex Albon. You know, we got Britain coming up next, which is a track that he also has done very well at in the past. But I was incredibly strong there last season. Finally took home a win after years of pain, is probably the best way I can describe it. Then Austria is a bit of a stronghold for me. Can't remember the last time that was on the calendar and I didn't win it. France could go either way, but generally I'm looking pretty optimistic about that one. Hungary, I was on for a good result I've been on for a good result in Hungary many times and had DNFs. It's another bogey track for me, along with Baku, I would say. And then Belgium, obviously, is a good one for me. Zandvoort is a good one for me. And then, you know, if we can, like I said, if we can have some good results during that period of the calendar, over the next like 6 races or so, then we will be looking incredibly good, I would say, to hopefully, you know, perhaps mark out our chances of you know, building a bit of a lead in the championship, never mind retaking the lead. And yeah, I think Albon will struggle a little bit to keep up with us in the races where we seem to have a lot of pace. But we are on quite a high AI difficulty at this point. We've moved up to 87, and so things are only going to get more and more difficult if I keep doing well. And so it remains to be seen whether I will be able to keep up with these guys. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.